Hello! Why don't we sing a song together? I'm going to teach you Fine by Me as arranged by Evan Powers. There are 3 parts. Let's start with part 1. Well, it's fine by me. Your turn. Well, it's fine by me if you never leave. If you never leave, you can stay like this forever. It's fine by me. You can stay like this forever. It's fine by me. That's part 1. Let's sing it all together again. Ready? And go. Well, it's fine by me if you never leave. You can stay like this forever. It's fine by me. Okay, here's part 2. Fine, fine, fine. Fine, fine, fine. Never, 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 never. Stay, 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 stay. Fine by me. Go. Stay, 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 stay. Fine by me. That's part 2. Let's sing it together again and go. Fine, fine, fine. Never, never. Stay, 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 stay. Fine by me. Okay, and now part 3. Well, it's fine by me. Your turn, go. Well, it's fine by me. If you never leave. Your turn. If you never leave, you can stay, you can stay, you can stay. It's fine by me. Your turn. You can stay, you can stay, you can stay. It's fine by me. Okay, part 3 all together. Ready? 1, 2. Well, it's fine by me. If you never leave, you can stay, you can stay, you can stay. It's fine by me. So now, I want you to pick one of those 3 parts. Well, it's fine by me. If you never leave, you can stay, 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 stay. It's fine by me. Well, it's fine by me. If you never leave, you can stay, 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 stay. It's fine by me. Well, it's fine by me. If you never leave, you can stay, 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 stay. It's fine by me. My goal for this video was because we had a collaborative rehearsal. Dr. Burch's students came and did a Zoom rehearsal with my college choir, and I thought, we need to sing together. But because of the lag in Zoom, there was no way we could actually sing together. So I created a virtual choir so that all the singers could hear all 3 parts. And that was my technological innovation.
This activity is exactly what we want you thinking about and walking away from today with. I know we're all excited to be face-to-face, maybe no more Zoom, maybe even singing without a mask, but we shouldn't just toss out everything that we've learned throughout the course of the craziness of last year. But to figure out what sticks and what tools and technologies we're going to keep using, it has to start with your personal professional goals. When you know the goal, you can best select the tools or the technology to accomplish that goal. Ashley knew she wanted all of us to sing together, and because of that, she created some type of PowerPoint and YouTube so all of the singers, whether in person or virtual, could hear their part and learn that song together. Said another way, let me tell you a story. In the book, Deep Work by Cal Newton, he tells a story of a farmer. Hang with me, I'll connect it to choir. The farmer has to buy a lot of tools and select a lot of tools, but based on his personal and professional goals. So in the farmer's case, there's a machine called a hay baler. That means you take all the free grass, you bale it up into a bay of hay, and you give that to your animals in the winter months. But this farmer decided he was going to buy his hay bales instead of purchasing a hay baler and using his own free grass. He did this because the cost of the time that it would take to pull it all up, the cost of the wear and tear on the machinery, the cost of the wear and tear on the fields, it outweighed his personal and professional goals, so he ended up buying the hay baler. So how does this relate to us as educators? Well, what are your personal and professional goals? That will help you decide what tools to use or not use. Perhaps there's some new software or technology that you think you might want. You need to evaluate that to your personal and professional goals to make sure that it really is worth the time and the energy. Quick introductions before we keep going. My name is Dr. Emily Williams Burch. I'm the coordinator of music education and visiting professor of music at the University of South Carolina in Aiken. And I have 4 community choirs, children through adults, in Savannah, Georgia. I met my friend, Dr. Ashley Conway, through a technological tool, Facebook, and the ICEP Mentor Program. You should totally check it out. Ashley, say hello.
Hello, I'm Dr. Ashley Conway. I am the choir director and adjunct professor of music education at Brenau University in Gainesville, Georgia. When I am not teaching my students and here on campus, you can find me with my husband, Bradley, and my 2 lovely daughters, Mia and Zoe.
I don't know what you did during lockdown. I got to know Dr. Conway, but I also watched the entire X-Men series and every single episode of West Wing. They both offer perfect analogies for what we hope to accomplish together today. First of all, we all need to be shapeshifters. That's the character, if you haven't seen X-Men, that's in this picture. Think back to your methods classes. We currently teach our methods students to be shapeshifters. We don't know what their classrooms or students will look like in the future, but we know music and we know educational strategies. So we teach those fundamentals along with the skills to adapt, just like the shapeshifter. But like all good X-Men, you have to train and practice your mutant power. That's what we hope to do together today. Said another way, for all the West Wing's fans in the room, each episode has a very similar format. Something needs to happen in the White House. There is some form of opposition. The team finds a million alternate solutions, and the episode ends. That's us, navigating and constantly flexing to figure out how to best empower, equip, and make beautiful music and meaningful moments with our students. We've had tons of practice this past year to flex and become shapeshifters and to figure out alternate routes in the White House, but let's figure out how we can apply all of this to your classrooms.
All right, let's go over our session outlines and objectives today, okay? We are going to do all 3 of these things. First up, we're going to find our spark, okay? And then we're going to stoke that flame, and then we're going to enjoy that fire. We're going to dive through some interesting research and technology while we're talking, and we want you to be thinking about your personal and professional goals like we did in the opening activity. To give you a chance to think about that, we have this news clip. According to AJ Plus, a global news community, these are potential new technologies in the classroom. The idea behind this quick video is to start thinking like a shapeshifter. Remember, none of us really went to school or chose choral music because we wanted to be audio engineers or virtual choir mixers. But what we can learn and take from those experiences to help our choirs get to the next level. What is it? What can we learn? Yes, technology and change can be super scary. Fear can sometimes feel like a fire, but we don't want technology literally lighting you on fire. Instead, harnessing the power of fire to bring innovation, imagination, and engagement to your students. Using technology to meet those personal and professional goals we talked about earlier is the goal for today.
Let's face it, school's not what it used to be. Today's high schoolers are learning how to fly drones and 3D printing their artwork. It's really cool, but also kind of scary. So what crazy new technologies will replace number 2 pencils and good old graph paper in the classrooms of the future? Virtual reality has been around since the 90s, but now Facebook and Google are no longer in your face, but on your face. Google's Expeditions program turns smartphones into virtual reality viewers using simple, inexpensive cardboard. And now that Facebook's bought Oculus Rift, they're planning on getting into classroom gaming as early as next year. this is the first kind of headgear that might get you into the popular crowd. 3D printing in schools is revolutionizing the art of show and tell. These printers can make machine parts, jewelry, even guns. Yesterday's arts and crafts is now modern-day engineering. Elementary-aged children are already using 3D printing to design prosthetic hands. Remember how you had to lug around heavy books and then swap them out for other heavy books from your locker? Well, now there's the cloud, saving students from back problems everywhere. But the cloud could also give teachers direct access to data on students' study habits. By doing all their homework online, students provide engagement data on how long they've spent on their assignments and whether or not they're taking notes. There's a bonus though. Major publishers could use that data to judge how effective and engaging certain textbooks are, so you could be recycling that boring algebra book. With biometrics technology, you've got fingerprint scanning to borrow library books and iris scanning instead of ID cards. Teachers will even be able to tell if you're concentrating or not during online courses using eye tracking technologies. Yikes. It's like old school projectors, but in 3D. Remember Michael Jackson's Back from the Dead moonwalk performance? Well, hologram technology in classrooms is still just a dream for now because it's too expensive. But in the future, it would allow teachers to give lessons to students across the world. Imagine taking a tour of a historic 3D model of the Colosseum right from your desk. The potential for new technology in the classroom is pretty amazing. But will it cause students who are plugged in all the time to forget what it's like to live in the real world?
Great news. We aren't incorporating virtual reality, 3D printing your octavos, or biometrics into the choir classroom. We're looking at Google, digital audio workstations, DAWs, and YouTube. You know, the familiar things. It is good to look at where technology can go and how we can use those forward-thinking ideas and link them to current technology trends in our classroom, because it's our students who may have those technologies at their fingertips. This is about integration, though. We aren't advocating for 100% virtual concerts, all the tech to continue or replace old school choir, but how can it enhance, build, and engage your singers and communities in new ways?
Let's start by looking at what the research says about integration. We have some visual models as a way for you to think about ways you can incorporate technology and new tools into your classroom. This model reinforces the idea that we don't want to replace everything, but we just want to try new ideas and tools, not all at once, but maybe a little bit at a time. Starting at the bottom of this image, the bottom two talk about enhancing your lessons with things like, at the very bottom, substitution, such as putting your agenda in a PowerPoint slide versus just writing it on the whiteboard, or augmentation, sight reading in Finale or Sight Reading Factory instead of writing it on the whiteboard or copying a sheet of paper. Above the dotted line, you can also transform your classroom with things such as modification. For example, using an app for practicing or teamwork like the Acapella app or Flipgrid, versus redefinition, which is a complete creation of something new, thinking those DAWs, the digital audio workstations, or composer projects that we saw many choirs getting involved with via Zoom and other platforms during the pandemic. It's not about how techy you can be. Seriously, just one way that you might change your classroom a little bit moving forward and utilize the tools that you've been practicing and using this whole last pandemic in a way to better engage your students. Another way to look at this model is by aligning it with blooms. Where can you use technology to help your students remember, understand, apply, analyze, evaluate, or create? This research and these models are here as part of Objective 1, to find your spark, setting goals based on research that align to your personal and professional goals. My music ed students found this model, the Assure model. They absolutely love it because it gives them a process to integrate and test new ideas. This is ultimately what Dr. Conway and I did when we were brainstorming and creating the opening engager for this presentation. Starting at the top of this image with the red circle, analyze learners. We knew you would be teachers, and we wanted you to walk away with some type of song or activity you could use tomorrow. It's fine by me. The second thing, stating our objectives. We wanted to incorporate an element of technology and show you how we are just using it in our classrooms. Things that we learned because we had to during the pandemic are now enhancing our rehearsals and helping our students master and become better musicians and better humans on the daily. Number 3, we selected a media, material, or method. For this case, we selected PowerPoint and YouTube. We utilized the music and the material and the media. So we created the PowerPoint and we embedded the YouTube at the designated spot. We required the learners' participation. Hopefully you sang with us. We're hoping. And then we evaluated and revised. We reviewed what we did and how you too can apply that concept or that process, the Assure model, to do something with technology or tools in your classroom.
Now, this is my favorite model to look at because it kind of shows me how the 3 spheres of what we do overlap and can create something new. So you have the 3 circles. You have technological knowledge, content knowledge, and pedagogical knowledge. You have all of these things in your back pocket. And when we get to see how they overlap is when we can create these technological innovations in our classroom. So like with the video that we showed you today that I made for mine and Emmy's students, I used my content knowledge. So I taught you the song. I used my pedagogical knowledge by breaking down each part into small chunks so you could learn it quickly. And I used my technological knowledge by putting a virtual choir, combining all those 3 parts onto YouTube. And then I had feedback. Now, what are your goals for the school year ahead? And which of these models are going to help you? If the first item on your notes page is your goal, then the next is your tool for integrating technological resources. Pick one of these. We are about to fire hose you with ideas and possibilities. So if you have just one of these models in mind, remember, we just want you to try or find one new technology that you can incorporate this fall.
Nothing better than a quality education quote to transition to objective number 2. This quote by Benjamin Franklin actually lives on my desk. And sometimes when I want to take the quote easy way out, I remember to involve my students in every step possible. Are there fears? Totally. Challenges? Always. But possibilities? Unlimited. Yes, remember, we can suffocate in our comfort zone or we can jump out and try to grow. It's scary, but we have to be proactive. And so I want that to be in the back of your mind as we literally fire hose you with ideas. Remember, this is about taking what we've spent time doing and putting it into the face-to-face, real-life choir that we're used to having before the pandemic, but invigorating it in a way that will best prepare our students for the future that they're going to live in and keep them engaged and innovative in ways that they really learned and grew over the pandemic. So we are going to stoke the flame, looking specifically at platforms and different project ideas. These are a bunch of examples. We're going to start looking at an idea that I got from Dr. Jaron Jorgensen and Dr. Christy McLean. They're both professors at a small school in South Carolina. They use the Google Suite and apps galore to better help with RPG, which stands for Retention, Progression, and Graduation. They started with Google Documents and Sheets and have expanded as they identified the students' needs and what works with other tools and other applications. For example, they just recently found a practice room app that allows them to schedule what, how, and when the student practices in their practice room. It's kind of like a practice room playlist of sorts. You can hear more about that on the Music Ed Matters podcast. It's episode 63 coming up on the 20th of July. In the middle, democratically designed assignments. Dr. Tammy Yee, is a professor in California who utilizes excellent democratic classroom practices, including seating chart mix-up every single day, either by pulling out of a hat or using computer generators. She also gets the students involved in working in the syllabi. She presents a syllabus and then they sit down in a circle and discuss where things can change and what projects and things they can do together, like a collaboration within her classroom. Something I borrowed with my choirs after talking to Dr. Yee was using shared platforms like comments in Google Drive and Jamboard, which is another Google tool. And that through those two, my singers were able to create their own program notes. They created their own dress code requirements and a ton more. This is all in bonus episode number 15. Now, this is just barely the tip of the iceberg regarding ADEI, which stands for Accessibility, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. A wonderful way to dip your toe into the ADEI world is by really using technological tools and resources to analyze and update your protocol and your procedures, such as maybe making concerts more accessible for attendees by using Zoom or live streaming the concert so more people can attend if they can't get off work, or getting students input on repertoire and using interactive rubrics to actually select the repertoire as a class, or setting up virtual office hours or virtual rehearsals for students who might not have transportation, and various fundraising platforms to aid in offsetting costs such as uniform costs, trip costs, class costs, instrument costs. Hopefully you have in the back of your head your goals for the year ahead, and maybe one or two things from those technological research models of where you think you could put some of these tools. But which tools are we talking about? In example 1, I talked about Dr. Jorgensen and Dr. McCain, and they used a ton of the Google suite. Google offers tons of free training in their Google for Education platform. Now's a great time in the summer. Pull up the Google Education platform and get familiar with how to collaborate in some of these resources. It's free, and you can do it sitting poolside. I'm also a certified trainer for my campus in the Google Ed Suite, so if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. Another great resource for looking at how you can explore platforms and create new project ideas is your students. They have this uncanny ability to find apps and sometimes create them. I just found out I had a student who likes to create apps, and they can make something to fit whatever you're trying to achieve. With example 2, when we talked about democratically designed assignments, there are so many shared files and shared platforms that you can get on together. Or as you saw with Dr. Conway's example earlier, using YouTubes to create either those combined sing together or even making your own playlist. We have a YouTube playlist in my all-girls choir that is their music that they want to warm up to, and we play that at the start of every rehearsal to help them be encouraged to get there faster. With ADEI, there is so much data that you can collect using forms. There's opportunities for leadership, having students take attendance, or having the students work together to mark a score in shared online databases. There's streaming options so that there can be more family or attendees. There's tons of opportunities for Zoom guests. Now that we've all gotten familiar with how to teach on Zoom, don't lose that opportunity to bring in an expert and let people in your classroom see themselves. You don't have to be that expert. You don't have to be everyone, but you can find someone for every person in your classroom so that everyone remains seen. So pop quiz. How would you use a collaborative slide? Maybe this is how you allow your students to democratically make their program notes. Maybe you could even have the students create their own virtual dress code presentation for the concerts. Some of the things that Google for Education says could be done with slides are broken down into teachers, admins, and students. I personally love the second bullet under student, take dynamic notes. I one time created an interactive slide for my college students in Intro to Music, and they got to turn in their notes for bonus points based on how creative they got. And to see how they spelled some of the music words and how they drew out some of the things they were hearing, it was really enlightening as a teacher. And it took no time at all to just throw my PowerPoint into a slide and make it a collaboration. Another pop quiz. What is one way that you could use collaborative documents, sheets, or forms to meet your personal goals? Maybe you have a form at the end of class and you throw up a QR code scanner and every student can grab their device and fill out a form at the end of rehearsal. What did I learn today? What do I need more time doing? What does the teacher need to know about me? Or use it as a bell ringer, giving the opportunity for conversation. Here's what Google Ed says. Some examples of how sheets and forms can be used. I love how it can be a tool to collect and analyze data, especially moving forward. I think it's important that we all fall in love with the quote, the problem, not the solution. I think we have so many opportunities to create the most amazing whole human in front of us with a whole room of singers or little people learning how to sing and perform and experience music. We need to turn the challenges into opportunities and empower ourselves to create future-ready students. There's going to be challenges ahead as we learn how the students come back into the classrooms and what that looks like. But look at all you've overcome this past year. No, don't get overwhelmed. We've just thrown a ton of ideas at you, rattled them one by one by one. You have notes, you can go back, and you'll have our email addresses. Don't hesitate to reach out. But we need to think about these type of images. This is another Google Ed training image, and I love the way that it helps me think, am I in the circle, am I in the diamond, or am I in the square? These are all things you can think about while you're poolside or taking a walk, getting a break for the summer. Every single problem, quote unquote, starts as a sketch where we identify our goals and what we want to accomplish. What do we need to find? What tool or technology could help us? Maybe we need more finances. Maybe we need more diverse programming, more equity, more community engagement, more students. Those ideas may be in the circle, the now phase. Like you can see how to accomplish them very easily. Great, I'm going to do X, Y, Z. But you could also be in that diamond phase, meaning you're ready to try something new and explore other pathways, such as a new tool or new technology. Or maybe you're in that square, the how. You have an idea, you don't exactly know how you're going to get it, and that's where this next screen comes in. As choral perfectionists, this can be a tough process, but you know exactly how to do it with a piece of music. When you're teaching a song or something to your students, you know what you want it to sound like, and the process of designing how to get them there, you're familiar with that. But what if you're trying to do it in a new way, to step outside of your box to help prepare your future-ready students? In all the examples we've given so far, they all started out very similar to this image. There's a sketch, something that you want to solve, the spark. And then you have to define it and test it and analyze it. And eventually, through this design process of trying tools here and trying technology there and engaging your students here, you turn the square of how do I do something into the circle or the new now, the new normal. It's a patience thing. Some things stick, some things don't, but the process of going through this together is so great for both you and your students.
Okay, now we threw a lot of information at you, so let's recap. You've seen this screen before, but think back to items 1 and 2 in your notes. Your goals, number 1, and number 2, your technology integration model. Now, pick at least one of these technological resources to design into your instruction sometime this fall.
Finally, we need to enjoy the fire. All of the things we've talked about before is all about the process, but remember, there is so much that can be done using different technology and different tools. Think about all of the opportunities for student directors and student leadership. When you think about how you've gotten the students comfortable with singing by themselves in their square, how can you take that to the next level in the classroom when you're face-to-face? I've already talked about using forms for opportunities for reflection, for talking about what they're feeling. That's a great way to involve social and emotional learning. Using discovery, using rep exploration or style or different assessments with various apps or other technologies. Dr. Madsen says everything relates to everything, and I think it is so important for us as teachers to model for our students how we are staying current and how we have learned all these new skills, and we're not just throwing them out with the bathwater, but we are finding ways to better serve our students. It's such a great model, and teaching the students how to make those transfers is so important. And through all of this, finding ways to collaborate, whether with the students in your classrooms, other teachers in your building, other organizations in your state or in your region or across the country, fostering, creating, and connecting collaborations will create such meaningful opportunities for both you and your students and help you engage in the music in new ways. Now, pick one thing. Do not get overwhelmed. The whole point of this presentation is just to remember that you can do hard things, my friend. You have done hard things. You learned so many new skills and things. I mean, you survived this last year and a half of teaching. What can you take from those things that we've learned and grown with? And how can you take your classroom and your choir, your ensemble, whatever, to the next level? You don't have to leap the whole staircase. It's just one step at a time. And in case no one's told you today, you're doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing. You're the only you that there is. And no matter if you and the person next to you end up doing the exact same thing, it doesn't matter because they're not you. And only you can bring your special light into the classroom and into the technology and into the tools. So just keep on shining, my friends.
Thank you so much for joining us. We hope that while we have given you a ton of information to look at, lots of things to think about, that you will take one thing and try it this fall in your classroom and engage your students in this technology and to keep that spark lit. Here are our email addresses. We would be so happy to talk to you about any questions, any collaborations, any information that you might need. So please send us an email and let us know how we can help you. And thank you so much for your time.